Tonight, a deadly night across the GTA. 3 people are dead, including 2 pedestrians in 3 separate incidents. We'll have the latest from the scenes. Plus,
we're going to have an emergency meeting over the weekend. We'll make a decision on Monday.
Lockdowns extended with more restrictions likely on the way. What those measures could be as Ontario reports more than 2,000 new COVID cases for the 4th day in a row. And
I was sitting in my garage and I hear bam, bam, bam.
Neighbors in shock after a man is shot and killed inside a Brampton home. What they heard and saw and what surveillance footage revealed. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Police responding to several accidents in the GTA tonight. We'll begin in Mississauga, where a person has died after a 2-vehicle crash near Burnhamthorpe Road and Wolfdale Road. Police were called to the scene just after 7:30 tonight. The victim, who was a driver of one of the vehicles, was rushed to hospital in life-threatening condition. He was pronounced dead a short time later. The driver of the other vehicle was also taken to hospital with minor injuries. Neither of the vehicles had other occupants. Also in Mississauga, a 70-year-old man is dead after he was struck by a vehicle at a gas station parking lot.
As he was walking back towards his car, a vehicle was traveling through the parking lot, struck the male. The male was transported to a local hospital where unfortunately he was pronounced deceased.
It happened near Morningstar Drive and Goreway Drive just after 6 o'clock tonight. The driver of the car remained on the scene. Peel's Major Collision Bureau is investigating. And in Toronto, a man was killed after a hit and run in a Midtown parking garage. It happened just before 6 p.m. near Mount Pleasant Road and Eglinton Avenue East. The man was pronounced dead at the scene and the driver did not remain. Police described the vehicle as a white U-Haul van or pickup truck with damage on its passenger side. It was last seen heading eastbound on Eglinton. Turning to the pandemic, we now know lockdowns in Toronto and Peel will continue until at least January 4th. The Premier confirming that today. Doug Ford also announced Hamilton will go into lockdown as of Monday. And that may not be all. As Lorenda Redicott reports, tighter measures could be coming.
In the areas that are locked down right now that are expiring on Monday, I can tell you they won't be expiring.
Premier Doug Ford confirmed that lockdowns for Peel and Toronto, where cases continue to rise, will remain in place. He spoke briefly before an emergency teleconference with hospital CEOs.
I want to listen to what's happening on the ground, within the hospitals, within ICU units. We're going to have an emergency meeting over the weekend, and we'll make a decision on Monday.
The weekend meeting will be between government officials. Sources tell CBC the government is considering a more restrictive lockdown that would take effect on Boxing Day until January 11th. The sources couldn't say exactly which regions would be included, but say Northern Ontario would not be. Sources compared the possible measures to what Quebec is doing, closing all non-essential businesses, issuing a mandatory work-from-home order for most office employees, and moving schools online until January 11th. One source called the possible restrictions a modified stage 1, similar to the first wave.
Might be a bit late because right now, we have to discourage people from having large gatherings for Christmas. So I think delaying sends the wrong message.
Hospitalizations from COVID have been rising. This emergency room doctor says the overall numbers don't tell the full story.
When I do a shift right now, it's very quiet. There's maybe half the usual patients, but the ones that we're getting are really sick. Like, we have to put them on a ventilator, we have to put them on oxygen, so they're not messing around. And the people with sprains and cuts up to heart attacks are staying at home because they're afraid to come in.
The opposition is also calling for a response now.
They foot drag, they delay decisions, they dither, and in the meantime, people get sick and people lose their lives and families, get torn apart.
Following today's meeting, the Ontario Hospital Association said in a statement it hopes the government heeds its advice, saying should stricter measures not be put in place and should the public ignore public health advice and choose to gather over the holiday season, the consequences risk overwhelming Ontario's hospitals. The Premier says he'll announce any possible new restrictions Monday at 1 p.m. Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
Thank you.
Toronto Mayor John Tory released a statement this afternoon supporting the province's move to extend the city's lockdown and reiterating his calls for more restrictions. Tory writing, quote, "It is absolutely clear from everything we are hearing from our public health professionals and hospital officials right now that further action on a larger, more region-wide basis is needed in order to save lives and protect the health of all our residents." And there is an important update on the vaccine rollout. More Ontario hospitals are set to get doses. Right now, the vaccine is only available at 2 locations, one in Toronto and one in Ottawa. But with 90,000 more doses expected to arrive before the end of the year, 17 more sites will soon be up and running. That includes new locations in the GTA, including Sunnybrook, South Lake Regional, and Humber River hospitals. The expanded list will allow more healthcare workers and essential caregivers to get vaccinated. Residents in a Brampton neighborhood are shaken after a man was shot and killed inside a home. It happened last night, and Peel police are still looking for suspects. Greg Ross has more.
I was sitting in my garage, and I hear bam, bam, bam.
Dirk Ziegler lives directly next door to the house where a 23-year-old man was shot and killed at around 10:30 last night.
It's crazy. It is. It's unbelievable. I mean, in an area like this, you think that nothing like this would happen around here.
Ziegler shot this video on his cell phone as the man was taken out of the house and rushed to hospital, where police say he was later pronounced dead. Just a short time later, police officers were at Ziegler's door wanting to look at footage from his security camera. He was shocked by what they found.
There were about 4 or 5 guys standing around the back of our area, our shed area.
He says this video was taken just moments before the shooting, and it shows several people waiting in his backyard before moving towards the eventual crime scene.
Right across our yard, and then they hopped the fence, and then there was a fence that's somewhat damaged in the back there.
At this point, police haven't released any information about suspects, and they're not saying much about the victim either, other than the fact that he was a 23-year-old man who had recently rented a basement apartment in this house where the shooting happened.
We've never seen the guy. We don't know who he is, but yeah, he just moved in recently.
Police have also confirmed that they received 2 other calls to this street in a 24-hour span. One happened the same night as the shooting, just a few hours earlier.
Apparently somebody had broke into an apartment, like a home invasion. That's what I was told.
The other happened the night before at the same house where the shooting happened.
The night before, I heard banging, so I went to our window and I was just checking to see what it was. And it was a couple guys that were banging on his door. They wanted to get in.
Police are investigating any possible connection between the shooting and these other incidents.
Always a possibility, definitely something we're looking into. We are aware of that call and that investigation that's also was going on. So we'll be looking to see if there is any correlation. Again, it's very early in the investigation.
Any witnesses to the shooting or the other 2 incidents are being asked to contact police. Greg Ross, CBC News, Brampton.
The fate of Alec Minassian is now in the hands of a judge. Closing arguments are now finished in the trial of the 28-year-old responsible for the Yonge Street van attack. Minassian has admitted to planning and carrying out the attack that killed 10 people and injured 16 others. But the trial's focus was on his state of mind and autism diagnosis. As Trevor Dunn reports, the Crown says Minassian failed to prove he should be found not criminally responsible.
The Crown began its closing argument by considering Alec Minassian's background. Prosecutor Joseph Callahan said Minassian came from a loving family. He had some social problems, but made friends as a child. He got high marks in school and did exceptionally well in college, when he also socialized by going to the movies and bowling. Minassian got a driver's license and a credit card in his own name. Callahan contrasted this with the findings of the defense's most important witness. Dr. Alexander Westphal testified that Minassian was severely impaired by his autism to the point that he had the communication skills of a child. But today Callahan argued that that position is distorted, highly misleading, and a flawed characterization of Minassian, and one that could only be arrived at because Westphal ignored the words of the person he was assessing. Minassian was also interviewed by police and other doctors ahead of the trial. Expert witnesses retained by both the Crown and the defense all agreed Minassian has autism spectrum disorder. The issue for the court is how severe it is and how it impacted his state of mind at the time of the attack. Callahan today said the decision will be about a person who committed mass murder who happened to have ASD, not that ASD made him commit murder. While the defense believes Minassian's autism made him hyper-fixated and obsessed with carrying out the attack, he told doctors he hesitated about it. The fact that he knew he could chicken out, Callahan said, is reflective of the fact he had an operating mind and knew he was not required to go ahead. He had a choice. The defense argued that Minassian has a significant lack of empathy, that he considers other people objects and therefore didn't know the attack was wrong. But as he wrapped up his closing statement, Callahan said that Minassian has failed to demonstrate that at the time he planned and executed the attack, he lacked the capacity to know his conduct was wrong, according to the standards of reasonable members of Canadian society. In a rare address at the end of the arguments, Justice Anne Malloy thanked court and ministry staff for putting on the trial remotely during a public health crisis. She will deliver a written statement in early March. Trevor Dunn, CBC News, Toronto.
Time for a short break, but when we come back, the Regent Park School of Music holds their holiday recital. It's all held virtually, of course, and given the challenges of the pandemic, it's a big accomplishment. We'll hear more from the students coming up. Plus,
from sun to cloud and from cold air to milder temperatures, I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy. Big changes for the weekend with your weather pattern. All the details coming up after the break.
It's BYOS at the Betway skating rink this year. Bring your own skates, that is. The rink officially opened today with a few COVID rules. To skate, you have to reserve a time slot online. There is a 25-person limit for each 1-hour slot. And while it is outdoors, masks will still be required. A fun way to get outside while staying safe. And mainly clear tonight with a few cloudy periods. We can expect similar conditions through the overnight. Let's go now to our meteorologist, Colette Kennedy. And Colette, temperatures creeping back up a little bit. It was also nice to see some sunshine earlier.
Thanks, Kelda. Oh, what a nice day, having all that sunshine coming back at us. And I hope everybody had a chance, at least somewhere in their day, to enjoy it, because we don't have that much sunshine as we work ahead into the weekend. However, the temperature's turning around. After a cold start this morning, coldest we've seen since last winter, we are looking at our temperatures warming up, some mixed precipitation, light in nature, and really more for the second half of the day coming in as we go into Saturday. And then quite a few clouds on Sunday. A few rain showers possible. More than that, we'll probably see kind of some drizzle here and there. Not a lot of moisture associated with the systems that are moving through, but off and on, we're going to have some wet roads, and it'll slow things down a little bit, as it always does. Daytime highs from today, interesting about our temperatures, and as I say, we're going to be warming up. So as our winds turn from southeast towards southwest, we'll actually find the temperature may just dip another degree or so from where it is now, and then be nearly steady, or if anything, starting to rise as we go towards tomorrow morning. Now, in terms of the clouds, increasing overnight tonight, and then look at how extensive they're going to be into Saturday. I think that's the one thing that we're going to see more of, is just the fact that we get into a lot of cloud cover. A little bit earlier in the day, we start to see some wet flurries moving into cottage country, closer to the north shore of Lake Erie, more of a mix here, and into the afternoon, this kind of rolls into the GTA. And as it does, again, close to the lakeshore, it's more of some showers, some drizzle, and a little bit of ice pellet potential in there, a little bit of sleet, but really it's just kind of that mixed up stuff, and so light that we don't really consider it a problem, and we're not looking, I'm not, for accumulations from this. So as it carries on and we go into Sunday, still have the cloud cover. Another reason why it'll be nice when we get the sun back into next week, but it's going to take some time. So Sunday, still some wet conditions to deal with, and then even into Monday, late in the day, we could see some showers coming back, but there should be some sun in there as we get to the beginning of next week, and it stays mild for a few days too. Overnight tonight, these are your temperatures for southwestern Ontario, above seasonal here as well. A little bit of that mix coming through, light stuff tomorrow into a little earlier in the day, and then into the afternoon, the chance there for southwestern Ontario too. In terms of your wind chills, I mean, the winds are really letting up, so they're not that significant. And as I say, these are kind of the coolest temperatures we're seeing, and then they're actually coming up as we go towards the morning hours. Above seasonal or close to, as we look at the temperatures and your highs for tomorrow. Sunday, 4, so even milder. And look at staying above seasonal. It's not until we get to Wednesday night, and I know we're getting closer and closer to Christmas. Wednesday night, we will start to see some cooler air move in. And for the end of next week, there'll be cool air. And the other ingredient, the slight chance we could get a little bit of light snow, or at least some flurries. We'll be watching that carefully, Kelda.
Just in time for Christmas. Thanks so much, Colette.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
Like many nonprofits, the Regent Park School of Music has gone through many challenges this year. So tonight, their virtual winter recital is a huge accomplishment. Talia Ricci has more.
For the Regent Park School of Music, tonight's virtual recital is a milestone worth celebrating.
All of a sudden we found ourselves running a television station, right? It's like, oh, we had no experience in virtual learning as an after-school program and a registered charity.
Today I'm going to take you through 3 online music tools that you can create sounds and music by typing on your computer.
We had to learn really quickly, and I'm so inspired by the ingenuity of our team, our full-time staff.
It's just like a very inclusive space to be in. like you can always feel comfortable there and there's like no judgment.
This student has taken lessons with the school for 8 years and is part of this evening's online performance.
Once you know the notes, like my teacher always tells me that like you'll be able to play for the rest of your life, and it's something that not only you can enjoy and people around you can enjoy.
The school's goal is removing barriers when it comes to music education and making it accessible. So it was tough when online lessons couldn't get up and running until October.
If kids don't have good Wi-Fi, we're trying to figure out what can we do, mailing the musical instruments, doing curbside pickup. And you're going to be performing a Lizzo tune. Is that right, Nathaniel?
Yes. Yeah, I got some problems. That's the human in me.
Your little voice has a story to tell. But now Marcella says there's a lot to be proud of between growing attendance and tonight's show.
It is proving itself to be a saving grace for our students and our faculty and our community. So it kind of permeates outward.
More like a stress reliever for me. I'm not sure what the future has in store for me, but I hope music is a part of it.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
When we come back, it's time to take a dip. Metro Morning host Smiler Alpha goes for a swim in the chilly waters of Lake Ontario. That's coming up after the break. Finally tonight, it may not be the best time of the year to go for a swim in Lake Ontario, but that didn't stop Metro Morning host Ismaila Alpha. He ran into the waters as part of the Toronto Polar Bear Dip. Take a look.
What is it? We're overcast. There's snow falling right now.
There's some snow. There's definitely some wind.
It had me thinking a little bit about what it's going to feel like to dip into this lake. You did your polar bear dip 2 weeks ago?
We did, yeah. And it was a day that was much nicer than this one.
Thanks for that. In a typical year, can you describe what goes down for the polar bear dip? Like, what does it look like out here?
It's just rammed with people, and people are playing drums, people are singing and chanting. Then there's like hundreds more of spectators. And all of these dippers converge on the beach just before noon on New Year's Day, and cheering and screaming and all this, this nervous energy maybe.
This is all for a good cause as well, right? This benefits Boost. Can you tell me a bit about what Boost does?
Yes, that's right. The Toronto Polar Bear Dip has benefited Boost for a number of years now. And we are a charity in the city of Toronto that supports children and youth who've experienced abuse and neglect in their lives.
So some important work.
You know, it's unfortunate that we can't do that this year, and we're looking for other ways to kind of explore that feeling and get that feeling maybe on our own or in safer, smaller groups.
Have you ever done the dip?
I have not done the dip,
Nancy.
But you know what? This year, the dip is all about do it your way, when and where. And so I've decided to take a warm dip, and I'm going to make a donation to Boost.
Usually it's that first time you do it that you get that. It's a combination of like a rush of energy and then that boom, that cold feeling. But it's sort of it's just hard to describe. It's an exhilarating burst of energy, really.
Do you have any advice, any polar bear dip tips for me?
All I can say is get in, have fun. You can get your head wet.
Okay.
That's sort of the official threshold. Get
Okay,
your head wet,
yeah.
And then get out and get warm and as fast as possible. That's about it.
Ooh. Sure you want to do this?
I'm not questioning my decision to do this. I'm questioning how fast I can get out of that water and back into this vehicle. Oh, man.
Woo! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So cold, and then you get hot for a second as you go down under the water, and then you get so cold again. Oh. And the truth is I actually cannot feel the surface of my skin right now. A little numb. Could really go for a hot chocolate. We'll work on that.
And that's our show for you tonight and for the week. Thank you so much for watching. We leave you with pictures of this spectacular light show in Thornhill. This is on Wild Cherry Lane. The beautiful display choreographed to music, and you don't even have to get out of your car. You can listen in on your car radio. Some festive and safe holiday fun. Have a great weekend, everyone.